Dating as a gay man over 40 can feel like it's getting harder and harder. The apps are more frustrating, the gay scene feels less welcoming, and the culture is obsessed with youth. But here's what nobody tells you. Dating after 40 can be the best dating you've ever done. I'm talking about genuine advantages that only come with age. And today, I'll show you how to use these advantages even in a community that worships youth. And speaking of ageism, it's everywhere we look. It's in those dating app profiles that say under 35 only. It's in the attitude you get at certain gay spaces. And it's in the media. And also in those subtle comments like, "You look good for your age." And you know what? After years of being bombarded with these messages, it's no wonder we can find ourselves buying into it. Have you ever noticed yourself thinking something similar to these comments I got on one of my videos? "I'm too old for anyone for love," or "I turned 30 in a year. I question if I'm going to be too old to date." I get it. I used to have thoughts like, "I'm too old to be picky, so maybe I should settle for someone I'm not even excited about." Sounds familiar? We've been force-fed these beliefs for decades, and that's why it's become the way many people think about themselves. Here's how I broke free from that. I started catching these thoughts. Every time I heard that voice saying, "I'm too old," I'd pause and challenge it. Too old according to whom? Based on what? And that voice never had a good answer, because the truth is, these beliefs aren't ours. We inherited them from a culture that worships youth for all the wrong reasons. The real power comes from replacing those beliefs with your own truths. And this is where therapy or life coaching can be incredibly helpful. If you've done any kind of self-work like this, that's great because you've already built that crucial self-awareness. You understand your patterns, you can name your feelings, and you know how to communicate your needs instead of expecting someone to guess them. And if you haven't had therapy or coaching in a while or ever, now might be a perfect time to consider it. Why? Because at this age, you've got the life experience and self-awareness to make it incredibly effective. You're not starting from scratch anymore. You know yourself better. You can spot your patterns faster, and you're probably much more open to genuine self-reflection than you were in your 20s or 30s. And here's how this shows up in your dating life. You start spotting red flags way earlier. You don't fall into the same old relationship traps. And if things get complicated, you actually know how to handle it. It's a complete game changer. What I've also noticed is that I've gotten much better at choosing the right therapists and coaches. The ones I've worked with in recent years have been on a completely different level compared to my experiences when I was younger. They've helped me make some serious leaps forward in my growth. And this brings us to one of the biggest advantages of dating after 40. Think back to your younger years. How much energy did you spend trying to be what everyone else wanted? Stressing about how you come across or trying to fit into what you thought gay life should look like? Here's something many of us experience after 40. All of that starts to disappear. Sometimes it's because you actively choose to be more authentic. And sometimes it's simply because you've run out of energy for all the performance. You start thinking, you know what? This is who I am. Take it or leave it. I don't like this style, or I have these values. I'm not feeling comfortable here, so I'll just leave regardless of what others would think of me. Now, I know that for many of us, especially if we spend years hiding parts of ourselves, being fully authentic is a challenge. And it doesn't happen overnight. It takes practice, and sometimes it feels scary. But there are two huge advantages to being as authentic as you can. First, you get to do what you really want and say what you really want without the need to bend yourself just to avoid judgment. And the second big advantage is when you start showing up as yourself, you naturally attract the right people. Not everyone. Some people won't like it, and that's exactly the point. The people who are drawn to your authentic self are the ones you actually want to date. And speaking of being yourself, A couple of days ago, I got an email from one of my newsletter subscribers that really struck me. He wrote, "I'm 52 and I feel like I'm just too set in my ways now. How's anyone gonna put up with me at this point?" So if you're thinking, "I'm too rigid in my ways, so that makes the dating pool even smaller," does it really? Actually, it makes the dating pool more relevant. Instead of wasting time with guys who need you to completely change your lifestyle, you're focusing on men who could genuinely fit your lifestyle. And here's why that's actually an advantage when it comes to dating. Being set in your ways means you know what works for you. You've tried enough different lifestyles and relationships to know what fits. You know you need your alone time. You know you've got your daily routines and habits that keep you grounded. You know you need a partner who understands your commitments. This clarity is actually a gift to a potential partner. Instead of the wishy-washy, "I'm open to anything" of your younger years, you can say, "This is my life, this is how it works, this is what I'm looking for." And it makes dating much more efficient because people can self-select in or out, this time based on real compatibility. Now, before we dive into how the whole nature of dating can transform after 40, I want to invite you to subscribe to my private newsletter, where I share exclusive insights about gay dating and relationships that you won't find anywhere else. The link is in the description. One of the most meaningful changes that can happen in dating after 40, you start realizing it doesn't have to be about trying to impress someone with your accomplishments or your looks or your wit. It can become about actually getting to know someone and letting them know you. You know those first dates that feel like job interviews, where you're trying to present this perfect version of yourself, hiding anything that might be seen as a flaw. In my 40s, I discovered there's a different way. Real conversations can happen when you choose to show up as yourself. And here's something fascinating about dating at this age. You have the option to let go of so much unnecessary drama. All those games we learned when we were younger, the waiting to call or text, the pretending to be busy, the jealous plays. What if we just drop them? Think about it. Instead of wondering if it's too soon to text back, you could just text when you want to. Instead of freaking out because someone's ex is still in their life, you could have an open conversation about it. Instead of playing hard to get, you could focus on finding someone who actually gets you. It's not about whether you're already there. It's about knowing that this kind of authentic dating is possible. And the beauty of dating at our age, we can choose to date differently. Your 40s and 50s and beyond can be the time when you finally date as your true self. All those years of experience, all the self-work, all the clarity you've gained, they're not baggage. They're wisdom. They are tools. They are your biggest advantage in finding a real, lasting connection. If this resonates with you, don't keep it to yourself. Hit like, subscribe, and share this video with other gay men who might need to hear this message. Drop me a comment below and tell me, what have you learned about dating at older ages? Love you all.